So you know how people are pretending they don't know what a man or a woman is? Well, I just came across this video the other day. Somebody sent it to me. So this is funny. So watch when asked if about sports, females competing against males in sports. Now, every female who plays sports that I've seen says it's unfair. That from Martina Navratilova to Chris Everett to that Riley Grimes person to well, I'm going to show you in a second, Serena Williams. But watch this. This testimony was very interesting.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Women
you
and
don't
some that are
believe
shorter.
that a biological.
So she brings up Serena Williams. Well, let's watch. What does she say about competing against a male?
Murray, he was been joking about myself and him playing a match, and I'm like, Andy, seriously, like, are you kidding me? Because for me, tennis and men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, because it's true. It's true. It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game, and I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you kill me.
So I guess someone better go back and tell this woman's name, her name is Kelly Robinson, that Serena Williams disagrees with you. So this is this fantasy that these people just make up in their head. And it's like, oh, Serena Williams is great. She would be able to compete against men. No, not even close. You know how far not close? She once challenged a men's player at the Australian Open. She said she could beat anybody in the top 200. There it is. She said that they were ready to beat any tour player, her and her sister, that was ranked around the top 200 if someone wanted to take the challenge. So not the top 10, not the top 20 men, not the top 50, 100, 150, but if you were ranked 200 or above, they would play you in tennis, the top 2 women. So they played this guy. This guy took him up on it. This guy. His name, Karsten Brasch, okay? So, and the guy was ranked like 214 or something. He would smoke cigarettes and sip beer during the changeovers. And to be honest, no longer looked the part of a fit professional athlete. And it made no matter. He led 5-0 over Serena before winning the set 6-1 and then posted a 6-2 set victory over Venus. It was all in good fun, but 19 years later and a record 6 Australian Open titles later, Williams laughingly insisted recall of the event was not in her memory bank. So Glenn Greenwald tweeted this out. So of that hearing, and he said Renee Richards, when I was a kid, Renee Richards was the first trans lady to play professional tennis. And she went, she went from being a very poor male tennis player to nearly the top female. She sued the WTA after her transition in 1977. So she was never a good male tennis player, never near the top. She was barely professional. She's barely made the pros when she was a he. She sued the WTA after her transition in 1977, and at the age of 43, that's too old to be a professional tennis player. And she won the right to compete with female pro tennis players. She then rose to the top 20 in women's tennis in her mid-40s. Renee Richards, a real and brave pioneer of trans rights and visibility, herself now believes it was wrong for her to compete with women. And she regrets suing. Now, I guess half the people who vote for Joe Biden will call you a bigot. They'll call you a bigot. So she's a bigot now for saying that. That's what they'll say. That's how mental people are who consider themselves on the left. They're not on the left. They're anti-worker and they're pro-war. So if you're pro-war, you're not really a lefty. So they're not really lefties. They're war pigs who have a fetish for making the wrong arguments about trans women. So here's a gay guy and a trans woman telling you you're wrong if you think trans women should compete against cisgendered women. I hate saying that. I really do. So anyway, that's another discussion. There's another discussion of why do trans women not like the term trans women. That's another conversation, but she says she'd have destroyed all women players if she transitioned and played in her 20s. That's a trans woman who played professional tennis. So is she a bigot? Yes, there's lots of people who would say she's a bigot. That's how mental people are. And you wonder why people don't take you seriously. Both Chris Everett and Martina are among the 20th century's greatest athletes, pioneers for women's tennis, after only Billie Jean King. Chris Everett says Renee Richards almost beat her when Chris Everett was the world's #1 female player and Renee Richards was 44 years old. They both oppose trans women in sports. Martina Navratilova supports the world's athletic ban on transgendered women in competition. So that's, wow. That's March 28th. So that's when that happened. So they have now banned trans women in 2024 Olympics. So we're going to cover that story when we come back from Baltimore. The Williams sisters are among history's greatest female athletes, yet at least the top 500 male players would beat them easily. Both Chris Everett and Martina are liberals. Martina Navratilova, when world famous, hired a trans coach in the 80s. But because she's against trans women competing against women or cis women in sports, the LGBTQ plus community has excluded her. She's now persona non grata in that community. Isn't that interesting? One of the biggest pioneering lesbians, had to fight all kinds of discrimination, overcome all kinds of stuff because she says that biological males should not be in sports competing against biological females. They've kicked her out because she said something sane. And I bet they call her a bigot. I know they call everybody else who thinks this a bigot. It never enters their mind that you might be wrong. So anybody who is a trans activist or arguing on side of trans these days, it seems like you're not allowed to disagree with them. And if you are, you're a bigot. And it never enters their mind that they might be wrong. Just like that woman at the top. What is her name? Jennifer?
Kelly Johnson, was it?
Kelly Robinson. She just made up something because she was so sure she was right about this trans issue. It never entered her mind that she might be wrong. Turns out she's 100% wrong. 100% wrong. And anybody who thinks that trans women should be competing, biological males should be competing against biological females in sports, is a misogynist. How about that? Because that's what you are. If you're advocating for biological males and female spaces and to be competing against them in sports, you're a misogynist. You're anti-woman. How does that feel? You want to start throwing terms around? You want to start doing that? I could just say you disagree. That's what I would say. But when you call people bigots, they're going to call you misogynist, because you know what? It actually is a bit misogynistic. Here's one more. Big old misogyny repacked as social justice. That's what Daniel Ortoladado says. That's what this is. This is big old misogyny repacked as social justice. It's not social justice. It's misogyny. There's a reason why there's Title IX. And also, if you disagree, and by the way, nobody wants to discriminate against trans people, but they would consider that trans discrimination. It's not. Everybody wants trans people to be have equal opportunity in employment, in housing, in marriage, and be treated with dignity and respect that everybody wants to be treated with. But there's conversations to be had around other things like children and gender affirming care. Norway just banned it. Are they all bigots in Norway? I thought that was just Trumpers. So, again, this is how you lose an argument. If you're a trans activist, this is how you lose an argument, by calling people bigots who disagree with you, because it never enters your mind that you might be wrong. You might be wrong. Does it never enters their head? And turns out they are wrong. And how do I know they're wrong? Because Serena Williams just told you they're wrong. Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Baltimore, San Francisco, Huntington Beach, Rosemont, and Chicago, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, and more, and St. Louis. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all our tickets for all our shows.